Alright, when drawing trees, it's very important to realize kind of what the tree is made out of. First off, I just have this model of a tree actually, and it's just 50 pieces of yarn. They're all the same length, and I use this model just to show that you have a starting spot from the trunk, and as you go up, these branches take some of that material and divide up and become their own little branches, but really it subtracts from this main part of the tree. So with each branch, your tree is going to slightly get smaller. With these branches, it's slightly going to get smaller. And as you go up, this main base of the tree gets very small and turns into a branch itself and branches off as well. I use this just so people can kind of understand that the limbs of the tree will not actually be larger than the base, and it slowly gets smaller as you get farther out. Like I said before, you're going to be starting at the base of the tree, just with the trunk, and a lot of people start trunks off like this. Okay, you don't need to start that large. Okay, let's just start small and straightforward at first. Instead of having this huge root system already in there, you can draw that in later, so don't worry about that. So you're starting at the trunk of the tree, and as this tree goes up, it's going to eventually have some kind of branch. Okay, branch can simply just be coming off the side of it. You're most likely going to have the branch coming up towards the sun. So if this was the sun up here, trees like to reach for the sun, so they're going to go upward angle. You're not going to have a branch that goes like this. Okay, sometimes in nature that happens, but very rarely. And there's many types of trees out there, so don't think this applies to every single tree. But this is just like a basic oak tree or some kind of typical tree that you'd see in a forest. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to have this branch come off, and like I said before with the string model, you're going to slightly decrease the size of this part because this is taking some of that away from this. Okay, so you have this material and you're slowly taking some of that away, and you can divide it again. Sometimes, branches go straight, sometimes it goes sideways. They're never going to be real straight though. So as you keep dividing this up and it slowly gets smaller and smaller, your tree is going to get more intricate and more intricate. Okay, you can get tons and tons of branches, but you do eventually want to get smaller and smaller. Okay, this is the point where next time it divides, you're really not going to see a lot of the white space in between the pencil lines. So what you're going to get is this tiny little branch that comes off in both directions and creates a small branch, okay? Just one line. Instead of having a branch like this that comes up and just stops like that, because that's a lot of times I see in classroom, people like to just stop them like that. Instead of doing that, really try to elongate the branches and just make it a little bit more interesting to tree. They can cross over each other. That's not a big deal. Branches cross all the time. Okay, and it matters how many branches you have, that's going to happen more and more likely. It's a more complex tree. And I like to just put little tiny branches on some of these just because it makes it a little bit more realistic. There's millions and millions of branches on some trees. And if they run off the paper, that's fine too. It just makes it more interesting. Again, trees come in all types and shapes and sizes. It doesn't have to necessarily be, the tree that I'm drawing is the standard tree for everybody. But kind of going up even farther, you might have another branch come off the side. A lot of times people, another thing that people do will be to create a tree like this, and all of a sudden they'll have branches that go like this. Okay, where every single one of these branches just breaks off right away. Again, it might be seen in nature, but typically that's not the type of tree that they're going to be wanting or that they will need to draw. Instead of doing that, create kind of a main main stem or trunk that goes all the way up, and as that trunk keeps breaking off, again it gets smaller and smaller, and it keeps dividing just like your branches. Remember, you never want to make the branches of the tree bigger than the trunk, because that's it's not going to be likely to see that. What's going to happen is if your branches get wider like this, typically it would break right here and this would fall down. So you don't want that. In nature, when drawing anything realistic, you have to take consideration of gravity and the strength of each branch. And the direction that they go is, again, kind of up to you, but just consider it going upward towards the sun is always a pretty good bet on the direction that they're going to go. Okay, this one has a little branch over here too. And I'm just dividing it, taking the material that I have and using it. Really expanding these branches as far as you can go will make it a little bit more realistic. A lot of times people, or anybody really that tries to draw a tree, will try to stop the branch as soon as possible. They want to get done with it. So what they'll do is they'll divide it and divide it again, kind of like this, but for a branch. And you don't necessarily want that. Just keep going with it. If it ends up going off the page, like I said, it's a good thing. It's going to make it easier for stopping sometimes. One of the best things to actually do when trying to learn how to draw a tree is to just go out and kind of look at some trees. Like I said, they come in all different shapes and sizes. There's some imperfections that you can add. If you're looking for a more gnarly tree, gnarly trees kind of have these great big, I don't know, knots to them, like you could say, and they really bulge out in some areas. So you can have some of these bulges, but they have to be, they have to kind of fit the tree that you're actually doing. Okay, this would be, for instance, that a limb would have been here, but for some reason it fell off or it died or something, and it still has that kind of gnarly sense to it with like the hole of where the branch was, but it's not there anymore. So that's kind of how those are created. For the ending of the root structure, you can kind of divide it out now a little bit. You also will have kind of a front area to it. Some roots might be going down. A lot of times just putting some grasses or something in there will be the easiest deal. A lot of times kids will want to have these finger-like roots, and kind of stay away from those because you can get overboard with those. You can do some where like the roots will come out of the ground and go back in. That sometimes gives it kind of an interesting look to it. If you're going to have anything coming down, though, just remember that it's coming back towards you, so it's not necessarily going to be as long as you probably imagine it to be. Doing the texture now for the tree is fairly simple. Your lines are going to go up and down along the branches. And when you shade this, really concentrate. If the sun's going to be over here, and it's shining this direction, you can kind of just follow with your pencil for each way it's going to go. But this would be a dark side. The sun's shining this way. So underneath here would be a dark side shining this way. It's kind of following the same path as this branch, so you're not going to really get a strong shadow on each side of this. Instead, it will be underneath this tree. on the bottom side, and over here a little bit, over on this side. So it really just kind of matters the lighting and the direction that your branches are going to go. Thank you for watching.